Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Nightcap with Nakia. Hey, Nightcap with Nakia. Hey, where we will be discussing all things relationships with yourself, your spouse, and others. I am your host, Nakia L. Roberson. Please note that the psychoeducational content provided is only for informational and educational purposes. This does not constitute a form of therapeutic advice or counseling. If you require personalized therapeutic or counseling interventions, it is recommended that you seek the services of a licensed mental health provider. So with that being said, y'all, in life, we all bear scars from our past experiences. And those scars shape us into the person that we are. But sometimes we have to make sure that we understand those scars. And sometimes those scars can be painful reminders that find their way into our present relationships. And that affect our ability to trust. It affects our ability to love and to create emotional safety with our new loved one. And I personally, this is my personal belief, I personally believe that unpacking and processing our individual traumas can be the saving grace of a healthy, lasting relationship. So, brace yourself as we talk to a couple who learned how to break free of the chains from the past that held them hostage, and they learned to embrace love and healing. So, put your hands together as we welcome one of the gentlemen from season 3, Nightcap with Nakia. One of the gentlemen, he was on the episode Dating from a Male's Perspective. And Driv, on that episode, you dropped so many gems to where the messages that I received, because every guy got a nickname, right? From that episode, people was just dropping them. Oh, this person, this person, this person. So your nickname was the preacher.
The preacher. I can't help it. God's been good. I can't help it.
They nicknamed you the preacher, and so you were nicknamed the preacher. But I want to let everybody know that your fans, because you are a
Christian hip hop
artist.
Right?
He is a Christian hip hop artist. So your fans know you as Driven.
Yeah.
So you guys, welcome Driven to season 4 of Nightcap with Nakia. And tonight he brought his beautiful wife.
Thank you.
His beautiful wife, Isabella.
Yeah.
So you guys, welcome the Bassies.
Thank
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right? We've been doing it too long. You better say
I
it.
know, right? I know. But I only knew you as Drill.
That's true.
I only knew you as, I still don't even know your first name.
Yeah.
What is your
You know what's
first
so
name?
funny? Most people don't. They could probably find out at my funeral.
Oh.
They gonna be like,
Can we
who
find
is
out
Jamari?
tonight?
Jamari.
Okay, yeah, we don't want to wait till your funeral. What?
My first name is Jamari.
Jamar, okay.
Yeah.
So we got Jamari. All right, so let's talk about why we're here tonight. Sure. Okay, we want to talk about this emotional baggage, right? But before we dig into that, let's get to know you guys. Tell us, how did you meet, and how long have you been married?
Okay.
I guess I'm starting.
Let's go.
We actually met. We've been married for going on 6 years now, and we met actually during an outreach event. I did a lot of things in the community when I met her. She was at an internship around the corner from where we were doing an outreach with the nonprofit that I worked with. And it's actually kind of a funny story. I try not to get into like the whole details of the story because it can take too long, but we actually met. She offered me a bottle of water, right? I didn't find this out later until this is how we started talking.
Yeah.
We were at the same outreach event. I didn't notice. I still to this day don't remember seeing her at this event. But I remember I got online one time and I posted, somebody told me I look mean. And they told me they were scared to approach me after I did an event. So I went and talked to this guy, and I was just trying to encourage him. He said, "Man, I'm so glad you came and talked to me, Driv, because I just wanted to talk to you for like the last few weeks. I seen you out here, but I was scared." And I was like, "What you scared? I'm out here talking about positive things, positivity, God, loving the community, loving people."
Right.
I'm like, what were you scared? Why are you scared to talk to me? I mean, you just look square business sometimes. You just look look mean. And so that led me to get online, and I posted like something. Who thought I was mean before you got to know me? Who thought I was Hollywood or whatever?
Yeah.
And she jumped in the comments.
I was gonna say insert Bella future Basie, because that's like, this is my opportunity to let him know about himself, because that day it was sunny. It was a hot sunny day.
Yeah.
And so
It was one of the
that's why he
hottest
doesn't
days
remember
in
seeing me, because we were out serving the entire day. So we were out serving in the community in third ward. And so I said, let me let him know, because I offered him some water that day, not just him, all the volunteers that were out that day, right? And so when I got to him, I grabbed a cold bottle of water, handed it to him, and he just like gave me a stank look. Like he was just like,
He didn't want the water?
he took the water, but he didn't say thank you or anything. And so I'm like,
Driv.
I still deny these allegations to this day.
so it
I do
rubbed
not
me,
recall this.
Right, it rubbed me very wrong. And so when I saw that Facebook post about him, like, do I come off mean? I said, let me let him know about himself. So I was like, yeah, because I gave you some water on so and so event, and you couldn't even tell me thank you. So yeah, that's pretty rude, And I was mad inside. I'm like, oh, he says he loves God, but he don't even have basic like manners.
Basic manners.
Basic
no,
manners.
no home training.
No home training.
Yeah.
Not the special stuff. I didn't even have the basic.
Not even the basic, the bare
Basic
minimum.
Right.
So
that's kind of how we met.
So you said he rubbed you the wrong way.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh, he thinks.
But what she's not telling
Hollywood.
you is that I wasn't just sitting down with volunteers. I was on the microphone the entire day without any shade. So it's hours going in on the one of the hottest days
you
in
just
Texas.
hot and tired.
And so that's what I think it was. I think I was just exhausted, about to pass out, and didn't even recognize.
And I didn't know none of that.
And so when I seen this little girl jump in the comment section, I'm like, who is this little girl? I click on her page, little Hispanic girl just talking heavy mess to me on my own.
She all fiery.
All right, okay, she a Christian and she got a little spice to her. I kind of like that, Like, it's actually kind of dope, the water.
Okay, so you said one of the things you said is when you guys were going back and forth, you was like, yeah, she a little spicy. I kind of like that, right?
Yeah.
So you were like, maybe let me move forward with this. So were you ready to explore him rubbing you the right way? So how did you know that you're saying like, okay,
all right,
maybe I'll give him a chance and just, chalk it up to he was hot
to the next place. Yeah, just after having exchanges like, through DMs, what he was talking about was in line with my values. And he was very respectful. It was no funny business, and I wanted somebody that was going to respect me in my walk, because, at that time I was waiting for my husband. I was walking in purity, waiting for my husband, and just wanting to be with somebody that was going to honor that route that I was in, that process. Yeah. And so he was very respectful. He had personality, which I liked.
So I did have basic respect.
After, you did.
After she got a little
just
spicy.
had to learn
with
that.
you.
Right. You're right.
Yeah. So you said that you wanted to be with somebody that was going to respect your purity.
To know, you have to know our background to know a little bit about our story. So we've been talking about, we both had past traumas and both had got into some crazy, chaotic relationships. Doing things our own way. Being led by emotions and those kind of things. And so I think we both in this season got to a point where we were like, me personally, I got to a point where I was like, I'm just so tired of doing it my way. I'm tired of the heartache that comes along with it. I spent years with a person who, just didn't value me, treat me the right way.
Yeah.
And this is already while I was already starting my walk with God. So I was trying to do right, even though I was being mistreated. I wasn't going to throw my weight around or try to demand respect or anything. I was trying to do everything in a way that honored God. And long story short, I just went through enough heartache and heartbreak. It was the hardest years of my life. Shed many tears, and that's what led me to the point where I was like, all right, God, finally, I submitted fully to God. I always submitted a little bit, but or these portions in this part, but there's this one little part. I'm just do, but I got it right here on this tip. Just let me handle. You sit down. I know, God, you wise, but sit down. I'm gonna handle this. She cute. I'm gonna handle that. My way.
Yeah.
And that's what really finally got me to a point where I was like, all right, God, I finally got thrown in the towel. You created me. You know how you describe what a wife is. You know what a husband is. I'm actually going to listen to what you got to say for once.
Yeah.
And I think we were both at that point. And so by the time we dated, like, neither one of us had talked to anybody in between about this 2-3 year period.
So you went 2 or 3 years without talking, without being in any type of dating relationship,
any kind of
the both of you.
Right.
Okay.
Because at that point, we were both looking for a husband and a wife. So
Okay.
at that point, if a woman wasn't a wife, I wasn't going to take time for her. The Word of God says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. That means she was a wife before I even showed up.
Yeah.
Right? And I didn't make her my wife, but she was a wife before I even showed up. So I began looking for a woman who had the character of a wife, not just was cute, not just was charming,
right,
but actually had the character traits of a wife. And so because of all of that, our dating relationship, it really was like on steroids, right? Like it was really like on a fast track, because by the time we actually made time for somebody, we knew that it could possibly be the person I spend the rest of my life with, because otherwise I'm not even going to talk to this person,
Yeah. I was going to say, because we spent like separate before we met, we spent so much time like investing in ourselves and healing and growing and doing the hard work, so that when that time came, we would be ready, because we didn't do it, just perfect. We made so many mistakes apart. We dated so many people that we didn't in the past, and so it was so much heartache and unnecessary pain and all these different things that we're like, okay, God, so obviously my way's not working. Let me trade that in. So that's
so to answer the question, I think we did all that without answering the question. We dated just about 8 months. And then I proposed and we got married.
2 weeks later.
Yeah.
2 weeks later.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, so that's definitely dating on steroids.
yeah. 2 weeks.
Definitely dating on steroids.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that you said, Isabella, is you said that you had to heal. You had to go on your own healing journey. And Driv, you kind of touched on that too. What did that look like for you?
Okay, so like for me, it was not understanding like my worth. I thought that I loved myself as a woman, but I didn't. I was smiling, I was taking pictures, I was doing all kind of things that were showing outwardly that I was fulfilled and full of joy and all these things. And so what I had to really just check myself and say, okay, well, do you really love yourself? Because you're jumping from relationship to relationship. Like, why can't you be single and just enjoy you and invest in you and take care of you? And so I had to spend a period of time where I was just focused on loving myself according to like God's word and what he says that I am and things like that. So healing for me was putting myself first based on God's word, that I'm his daughter and I'm precious and I'm valuable and I don't need anybody else to define me or to find validation or for me to feel like I have worth.
Yeah. What did it look like for you? Because you kind of touched on the fact that you were the relationship that you were in, how you were pretty much miserable. So
for me, that healing journey, then like I said, I finally got to a point where I was just throwing the towel. And at first I was throwing a little pity party. Oh, I'm trying to do it right. I'm being a good dude. I ain't out here playing girls and doing all that nonsense. And you still let me go through this. And that's when God kind of checked me, like, nah, bruh, you wanted to go through that. You put yourself through that, because I actually had a mentor who was telling me, you might want to slow down, because we saw a different character and but I did it my way, and God reminded me, like, I shut off God's voice. Like he didn't do that. I'm going through what I'm going through because I turned off the voice of the Father who cares about me, and so my journey for healing really came with just really admitting that to God, telling God, my fault for doing it my way. Like, I see now that you were trying to look out for me. And that's how I talk. Like, I talk to God like that. I'm just, I am who I am.
Just real.
Yeah,
we gotta be.
That's my bad, guy. I'm sorry. There's a lot of tears, and I trust you. I realize you look out. You trying to look out for me. You my father, and so I really just started to that's when I really start to dive in. What does a husband look like, and what does a wife look like, and what is the purpose of marriage? Because a lot of times we don't even God created marriage, and then this season I began to think like, why everybody's getting married, but why? Like, and I started feeling like when I got married before Bella, and I was thinking like I didn't have a purpose. Like I was like, we're trying to make each other happy, but you know,
It
like
didn't fulfill you.
weren't. Neither one of us were fulfilled. You know,
Yeah.
and so that's when I started to look deeper into like, what is the purpose of marriage and why did God create it? And once I began to learn that, it began to become very clear what kind of partner I needed and what I was looking for, because I knew what the end goal was and I knew what the purpose of marriage was. You know, which of course was to let God reconcile homes and break generational curses and break cycles. Cause I was out in the street ministering to young dudes who were involved in gang culture and a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And I started realizing that all stems from broken homes, from men not being in the homes, people looking for love in wrong places, and things like that. And so my healing process just came from really learning the purpose of God's structure for the home and why it was important to keep it together.
So what is the purpose? What is the purpose for marriage? Because some of us need to know.
That's why they call me the preacher, because you keep asking me stuff like that.
Because I can ask.
Are you trying to be cool when she keep throwing them out there? Like,
oh, that's why you trying to use the cool lingo. I'm so sorry. My apologies.
Just me.
My apologies. But what did you discover? And this is your discovery, right? So this is your discovery. So what did you discover the purpose of marriage to be for you?
Right. Just based on, we get our belief system comes from the Bible, right?
Yeah.
And so studying the Bible, I recognized that the purpose of marriage was for a husband to display the love of Christ to his wife. And so it's for me to paint a picture to the world of what God's love for his people looks like. An unconditional love, a love that comes and sacrifices himself, so that we can be healed.
Yeah.
And so that's the purpose of the husband in the marriage. The purpose of the wife is to show how God's people should respond to that unconditional love, which is through a willful following of that leadership, a willful acknowledgement of, wow, this person really cares about me to go to such a great length to save me from my own mess.
Yeah.
God didn't save us from mess he created. He saved us from a mess that we created.
And especially with, like you both said, coming from your past and having those past traumas and past triggers and past situationships,
Right.
And how that can just kind of rear its head into our current relationship. And so being able to know how to deal with that when our partner is bringing in something that is probably from their past, because what we do is we take stuff personal. So how do you deal with that when there's something coming into like the emotional intimacy and overcoming those traumas? How do you help each other deal with that, and that you don't take it personal and begin to, pull away?
I started, I'm gonna let you finish it, if you feel led to.
Yeah.
Because I have a specific example. First, I think it comes from recognizing that this is God's daughter, you know? That's why I have a value for her, because she's God's daughter and she's a human. She's not an object. She ain't nobody just here just to make me happy or look good on my arm or just to please me physically. Like those are important things, physical intimacy, but that's not the goal. That's not everything, And when I realizing that she's God's daughter, it makes me realize, what, she probably is a human like me. She probably has some scars. She probably has some triggers. And so, because my identity came from God and I recognized why I'm here, I didn't take everything personal. If she had a trigger or response, I didn't feel like I need to, let me show you how you gonna talk to me, or you ain't gonna disrespect me. Like, I saw deeper than that. I saw, okay, I probably said something that, maybe touch a spot from what she went through in the past or something like that. And but a specific example, when we first got married, I went through a lot of drama, right?
Yeah.
So remember, this is my first relationship since a really bad one, right?
Yeah. 2-3
And so
years.
so a lot of time when you get married, things start coming to the surface you didn't even know I had. I'm looking great on the surface. I'm out here serving the hood and doing so much work, and everybody's like, "Yeah, go Trev, you're amazing," right? Yeah, I don't know who had the voice like that. But that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like pretty solid cat,
Yeah.
And then we started talking, and we had friends at my house one day. My house was like a home where we used to help a lot of people from the community and stuff. So it always had multiple people there just chilling, hanging out, and building with each other. And she said we were all with friends, and the friends, we started cracking on each other a little bit, and we started disagreeing and playfully arguing. And then I asked her, I said, "What do you think?" And she sided with the friends. She was like, "No, I kind of agree with homegirl, And that was it. She didn't do nothing wrong or anything like that. And man, instantly I just started feeling like
that.
mad,
Yeah.
I feel like, oh, she was real cool when we just me and her.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, now she switch up when we get around some people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see what type of time she on,
And he's looking like real frustrated. I'm like, that's funny. I'm like thinking he's playing.
Yeah, but he was mad.
No, but you jumping the gun though, cause you didn't know nothing until after everybody left.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That is.
We kind of wrapped up the whole get together, and then she's like chilled, and I'm like looking. Then I look at her like, "What you still here for? You can go right behind it."
Yeah.
Martin, you put her out.
He was trying to.
I'm trying to put it out. I said, "Get to stepping."
The preacher.
Get to stepping.
The preacher put me out.
He was about to put you out there.
Yeah. Because I didn't side with him.
But it's a good example that I like to use because she knew that. The Lord had already kind of revealed to her that I was a pretty solid dude, and I was serious about my walk. So I think she was able to sense that it was a trigger, that something happened she didn't understand yet. Because when I first told her to leave, she started laughing like she thought I was playing.
Because we're having a fun night. It's like a friend's
So,
night.
that made me mad. Oh, I like a comedian to you?
Yeah.
It's kind of embarrassing to talk about, but it's the truth. People can't, they can't heal if we don't spit that real. You know what I'm saying? And so that was one of my finest moments in the marriage. But I did. That's how I responded. But her response is what really made me begin to look at her at a deeper level.
What was your response?
Yeah, well, I was like, oh, it's, what's the matter? Like, what's going on? And he was like, well, he just explained everything to me. And so I'm like, oh, well, like, it doesn't change anything. It's just, I just like what she said. I agree. I have the same perspective. And we were able to just kind of, break that down. But because I didn't get in my feelings.
But this was the next day, though.
Yeah, I knew it was.
You gotta keep it a thou wow. You burnt off first. She's like, oh, no, let me get up out of here if I tell dude something,
But she gets spicy.
She was aggravated and she drove off. And when she left, that's when, because she didn't jump all in the way, who you talking to and all this, it didn't escalate. It gave me time to reflect. And I was like, as soon as she left, I was like, dang, where did that come from? Like, I never talked to her like that or nobody like that,
Yeah.
And I was just like, what was that? Like, where did that come from? And that's when God started dealing with me. So by the time she came back the next day, and we were able to have a conversation, like we were able to actually kind of work through it,
Yeah, I guess I was going to say I didn't get in the way so he could see himself, because I knew that it was something within himself that he needed to address, and I didn't internalize it because it had nothing to do with me. I knew I didn't do anything that was rude, disrespectful, nothing like that. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'll let him handle it, and at a later time we'll address it, and we'll figure out what's going on.
But I do want to point out, because I don't want to send the wrong picture to anybody,
that
she didn't just forgive me and move on, even though I had this trait that looked toxic.
Yeah.
She was able to see that because I came to her and really expressed to her the hurt or where it came from. She saw the genuine, what do you call it, the genuineness.
The genuineness.
in me,
And that you're mature enough to look at something, to look inward and put in the work to address something instead of pointing and accusing.
Right.
And
because had it been if I did it 2 or 3 times, like this one right here, it'd have been over with. Like, I already know, like.
I'm like, I don't do disrespect.
From day one.
Let me say that.
Yeah. And I like that from day one. She let it know what it was, and I was like, okay, I like that. Like,
Yeah. So it sounds like what you're saying is
a real man like a little challenge,
Just a little bit, right?
Not too much, a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Right.
It's enough to keep you on your toes.
So it's pretty much like you're saying is, one, taking the accountability. Taking the accountability. But then 2, in order for me to be accountable, I have to see within.
Yes.
I got to be able to take ownership.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I got to own it, and I got to see within. And you're saying that I gave him the space to do that.
Yes, I think that's key. That's key, because in a relationship, in order to be able to heal, you have to be aware. You have to be willing to look inward, you know? And maybe you're not aware of everything, but that's why it's important to leave that line of communication open with your partner.
Yeah.
So that they can point something out to you that you may not be aware of. Right. And I think just having the mindset of, we all have things that we have to address. You know, we are all a work in progress. We've all survived things that, you know, that we have to work through so that we can heal in. And so when we look at things in that way, we're able to have those discussions, because everybody has something they got to work on, you know, and we can help each other.
And some things don't come to the surface until you're in that relationship.
Until you,
Exactly.
You should do a lot of work beforehand. I believe that's mature, but some things just simply don't come to the surface until you're in that relationship.
Right. So when it comes to the surface, right? How do you communicate respectfully, but yet still maintain a sense of safety? Right? Because sometimes we can pop off and hit below the belt and say all kinds of things to where we fracture not just the trust, but we fracture that sense of safety. So how do you do that? How do you respond and communicate respectfully as you still uphold that sense of safety in the home, in the relationship?
And one thing my father-in-law said to me that always stuck with me, Bella's dad, was he said, always respect one another. That was the advice he gave us before we got married. He said, always show respect for one another. Once you allow respect to go out the window, everything goes downhill after that. It's very hard to get back to a certain place, you know?
It's like a domino
And
effect.
what I was studying about, you know, husbandhood and what a godly man looks like, that lines up with, you know, what I was learning. And so that's something I always hung on to. And so in our relationship, she knows from day one, like she was the one, I tell y'all my little story, but she was the one that was a little more quick to pop off, you know? That was like my one thing. After that, I've been like smooth sailing, you know?
He's been solid ever since that. And I have not.
But everybody looks at me like I'm the mean one. Everybody in our relationship, they swear she's like being abused. And they be like sliding her notes like, hey, just let us know. We need to come rescue
Blink
you.
once.
True story. True story.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, I got pulled over. You know, not pulled over. Pulled to the side at an event. Say, hey, we see the way he like is, and you know, if you don't feel like, I'm like, drip? What? I'm like, oh my gosh.
You mean mug like that?
I guess, but you know,
Wow.
it has happened to us. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so kind and loving and now me. You're talking to the wrong person.
So they need to be pulling him aside.
They need to be checking on
Your boy, you know what I'm saying? Your boy over here is struggling.
You all right?
I just have a sweet face.
That's it. She looks real sweet. Nobody believes me. One time she texted me and she was like, and nobody's coming to rescue you.
So this is for life.
That is hilarious. That is so.
But
Go ahead.
no, I was saying, but to answer the question, like the way I think, so from day one, I was very clear in communicating with her that we're not going to do disrespect, you know?
Yeah.
And she never, you know, from day one, we both were committed to the father first. So
Yeah.
she was committed to treating me the way he says to treat me because I'm his son, you know? And I saw her as God's daughter. I'm not going to play with God's daughter. Because then I have a problem with him. You know what I'm saying? I forfeit that favor in my life when I treat his daughter any kind of way, you know?
Yeah.
And so from day one, she would, you know, I wouldn't even say pop off, but when I could see a little bit of, she was really in her emotions, like kind of talking real frustrated or fast. Hey, babe, I immediately, right? Hey, let's go ahead and chill out. Let's talk a little bit when you're ready to, you know, let's just talk about this at a different time where we can actually hear each other, you know?
Yeah.
I'm ready to talk now. What you talking about? I'm ready to talk now. I'm ready right now, you know?
Yeah.
And at first she didn't understand why I'm shutting the conversation down, you know, and I would just gently walk because I believe that God has put me in her life, like I said, to be a sacrificial leader and to model the character that I want to see in my home. I don't think I can just tell her, you need to do this. I believe I have to model that. And I don't believe no dude should ever tell a girl to do something that he can't model himself. If I can't model it, then be quiet, you know? Because
Well.
And the reason I say that is because if you're not strong enough to model it, then that means you should be able to understand how somebody else could struggle with the same
the
same thing. You should be able to give grace, right?
Right.
If I trip out when I'm in my emotions, then how am I expect her to be perfect when she's in her emotions? Like, so if I can't model, that's one thing I live by in my heart. Like, if I can't model it, I'm not gonna hold her to a standard that I'm not living.
Man.
And so from day one, like anytime those kind of situations came up where I felt like this could not be fruitful conversation.
Yeah, fruitful. I like
so
that.
I would tell her, let's talk later, but I would also reassure her, I care about everything you have to say. You know, I care about how you feel. You know, I care about whatever's important to you is important to me, you know? But I just want to talk in a way where I can hear you and understand you, because if you disrespectful, then at the forefront of my mind is, why are you being disrespectful to me? You know what I'm saying?
Instead of hearing
Instead
what
of
she has
getting
to
to the, even being able to address the problem, you know? And vice versa. You know, if I'm being disrespectful to her, she's not going to be able, we're not even going to get to the problem, you know?
Right.
And so I think I would definitely let her know I want to revisit this conversation a little bit later. And just a little later, that's one of our rules. Like, if I take time, then it's my job to come back, you know?
Come on.
I say 30 minutes, give me an hour, you know, and we'll come back to it.
Yep. That's okay. Well, I know that. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
No, that's it. And but also I think we just maintain that respect too, because I never would shut her down without saying, reassuring her, I care about what you have to say. I'm not shutting you down because I'm being too immature to talk, or I don't want to talk about something that, even if I did it wrong, I just want to talk in a way that's fruitful, you know, because I want the marriage to grow from it. I don't want us to have division or, you know, distance grow because we're mishandling one another. And so it took her the first 3 or 4 arguments, and
I was gonna say, it took me some time, because like I've never seen healthy examples of dealing with conflict, you know. So when I questioned his motives, you know, he was telling me everything he said, that's what he was modeling and that's what he was doing. That was his intention in his heart, but I couldn't trust it, you know, all the way. I was just okay, are you dismissing me somehow? Are you trying to take control of the conversation? Like, what's going on? You know, why you know? And but you know, I was able to see, you know, he built that with that consistency and in character. Then I was able to see, oh wow, he's just wanting to model how to have a healthy exchange so that the conversation can be productive. He does care about my feelings. He does want to hear them. And when I'm full of emotion, I'm not able to hear or resolve. My heart's not there to resolve.
It's not softened.
It's not
softened.
It's just ready to fight.
Right.
Hence, says the one with the sweet face.
Let that face fool you.
It's just ready to, and you're right, you did say it with a smile. It's just ready to fight.
That's when you know somebody Looney Tunes, right? When they talk about killing you with a smile on their face.
It's just ready to fight.
That's the one you gotta look out for.
Before we close it out, talk to us and tell us, because you guys hit on some things that, anyway, but talk to us and tell us about, because, you know, rituals are definitely very, very important in a relationship. And so
we
what
don't do rituals in our house?
Well, not those kind of, not witch rituals.
I'm gonna need you to change your wording, my sister. He was the preacher and he doing
habits. Habits. Let's say that. Habits.
We'll go with habits. I like
He said I'm gonna need you to change your wording. We don't do no rituals, but the habits. What habits do you have that you do on a consistent, constant basis to help maintain connection in the relationship? I like it. See, we can hang, because every time I ask her, she's like, oh, that's a good question.
Look, I always want to make sure she always want me to go first, but when I always
she says it's a good question,
remember,
but you go first.
People think I'm abusing this girl, right? Because I always speak for, but I know her. She always likes me to start.
I do.
And then she likes to backdoor when I say something that makes her remember something, you know?
True. Good question. Answer first.
And so really, when I look at her, I already know what she wants, but I'm doing that for the camera. I'm like, let me make sure the camera sees I'm giving her a chance, so people don't call in and try to get her help.
Mike, don't be in the comments with that, right?
Right. No, disclaimer.
All right. So what habits that do you guys practice on an everyday basis to help build that connection in the relationship.
What about healthy language? Like we're always reassuring and speaking kind and love to each other.
Yeah, I can pull out my phone right now and all this through it is all day long. Thank you for working so hard for us. We miss you already, you know.
So appreciation
send me pictures
and
of the babies and
appreciation and gratitude, sharing it with each other daily.
Making sure we're verbal about it.
Yes.
Because we're always verbal about the critique we have.
But how we don't like.
Right,
Come on.
exactly right.
Yeah.
But why are we not just as verbal about the amazing things that you are that nobody else in my past was, you know? Like that's where I need to be very verbal about, and I think that we both live on this principle of before I take from the piggy bank of your heart, I had to deposit a lot. Because if all I do is take, the only time I come to talk about an issue, the only time I talk about your character is when it's something negative to say. That's going to be a very bad way to have healthy conversations.
It's very difficult to
Anytime I say, hey, I want to talk,
exactly.
she's not even going to want to talk because the only time I want to talk is to say something negative, you know?
Right.
But I feel like once this it's been established, the value you have to me. You're like, I already know how valuable I am to her because literally all day long.
She tells you.
She tells me, you know? So by the time she has to come bring something to me that, hey, babe, I want to talk to you about this. Like, I think we can do this better or that better. It's easy for me to hear and receive because I know she's not saying it in a way that's because she wants to disrespect me. I know she's not saying it because she sees me with less value than she did the day before, So I'm not getting insecure or worried about how she sees me or anything like that. I know this is my partner, and I know anything that she says is just, we all got our things, If she says something to me, it's for the betterment of myself and the betterment of my home,
Yeah, I love that.
So gratitude, we practice gratitude and
time together too.
Time together,
like always.
And a strength.
We put them babies to sleep in my house.
That's how many babies do y'all have?
3.
3 and 4. We got Lindsay who comes from my first marriage. Yeah, right.
3 full
and then
time.
3 who are with us full time.
She said 3 full time.
3 full time. 4, here and there.
Every other weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, so spending time with one another and practicing gratitude.
Gratitude.
I love that.
And strength-based perspective in our marriage.
Yeah. What does strength-based mean?
So just focusing on the strengths, like all the great things that he brings to the table, all the great character, personality, like all the things that I'm appreciative, instead of focusing on the things that I would like to see an increase in, and vice versa. All the things that I need to grow in, the things that he needs to grow in, like we come together as partners because those are our goals that we want to grow in and develop together because it's our marriage and it's it's our life. Yeah. So that's
the thing. It's our life.
It's our life. Yeah.
It's our life. And so that's why we have to come together and say what's going to work for us.
Right.
Not nobody else.
Right.
Because sometimes we let other people put their mouth on our relationship, and then we wonder why it's falling apart because it's not theirs, it's ours. So we gotta,
and no marriage has the same dynamics, No, but we all have different traumas and different triggers. So I can't just tell you what works for her, and you go do that in your marriage, and it's gonna work 100% of the time.
Yeah.
You can take some principles and things like that, but marriage is tailor made. Which means that our game plan for a healthy marriage has to be tailor-made as well,
But it's more about the posture of the heart toward each other. Like the focus is the posture of the heart to serve, love, encourage, and have a strength perspective.
And time, and I gotta say too, like time. We're so committed to time together. We with all our children, I was very, very intentional about getting them on a schedule as far as bedtime is bedtime. Like, we're not coming out the room 100 times. We not we're not doing that because mom and dad got to kick it.
Okay.
Like y'all are a product of our love and our union. So that's got to stay tight.
It's got to stay solid.
It's got to stay solid. So often what the enemy does is he takes things that are good things and he gets us to do them out of order. And once they become out of alignment with God, it ends up being destructive to the relationship.
Yes.
And but the enemy's so crafty because a lot of people can't even detect it because I'm not doing something evil. It's not evil for me to want to spend time with my child. It's not evil for me to want to go read them a story every time they come out the room or want to go lay with them every time or have them in the bed every night. It comes from a good place.
Yeah.
But if we don't recognize it, it's out of alignment because she's number one. And she has to feel like number one,
Yes.
And a husband needs to feel that I'm valued, that you want to spend time with me. If the kids come and she's always in the room with the kids, and what it's meant to be a blessing to our relationship, our children, and enjoying that family time, becomes something that's a hindrance to our relationship. Not because it's bad, but just because the enemy has tricked us into doing it out of alignment, you know? So we put them babies to sleep. They know what time it is.
7:30. Good day.
Good day. I know that's
good night. Good night.
We say, Carmelita, go ahead and put your shoes on. She start putting them her little pink sparkly Crocs on. Night night. She 1 year old and she know what time it is. Night night.
Exactly.
3-month-old, we wrap him up, take him to his little crib. Yeah, we're good.
Exactly. Yes, I definitely. That is something that we practice also in our household. And so our baby, she would sometimes say, "But let it be family time."
Right.
You know, and so that, like you said, a trick of the enemy, because then that's like you come in and you be like, "Have we not spent time?" Like, should I feel guilty? I don't know. No, ma'am. We would have go get in the bed.
Get behind.
Go get in the bed. This is me and Daddy's time, and so me and Daddy are gonna hang out. You just go to bed.
And see, and that's one thing that's always on my heart. I'm raising my child to be a healthy adult.
Yes.
Which means she has to be in a healthy marriage one day. They have to have a healthy family one day. So if I teach them that my wife's not important, that I'm always spending time with you, I'm not painting the right picture.
Right.
For them to, grow up. I'm creating a bad belief system within her, within him, you know?
Yeah.
They have to we talk to them all the time. Mom and Dad got to be tight.
Exactly.
Before y'all were here, y'all wouldn't have came here if Mom and Dad
if we wasn't tight.
You know? Y'all wouldn't have when we had our third, they were like, Jim, leave her alone. Tight for real. It's not no Instagram stuff, you know?
In real life.
Real life, we besties.
Real life.
Yeah, so we always just, communicate that with our children so that they know, man, Mom and Dad love each other, you know? That way they know what to look for as they get older, you know?
Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please support us by hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and sharing this episode. Comment below.